In this tutorial, we discuss about the middleware, why we need it, and what is the question of data isolation in this project. If you recall, we have an identity database. This database contains the user data for password, etc. And this is in an identity context that we have already discussed. This data has been kept separate because we do not want our identity database to be mixed with other databases, other custom databases that we are going to add to our project. In fact, sometimes we reuse the same project in multiple projects, so we would like to keep it separate so that in case we have to develop a new project with identity, then we can just keep some parts of the project copied and pasted, and additional things can be added in our new projects. So this is one database in our project. The second database is project context that contains customers table, pricing plans, devices of a customer, payments of a customer, the journeys made by a customer. This all is kept in a separate database called project context. The connection between this database and this database is through the name identifier of the user and the email ID. Both of these are unique identifiers of the user in this ASP.NET users identity table. So now the basic purpose of the project is to store the location coordinates. We could have put all the data, all the location coordinates in this database wherever the user makes journeys. But actually so many journeys are made by a user and updates are coming from different mobile phones also. So we do not want to keep the entire data of the entire project in one database. We want to have some sort of safety. Maybe it is an overkill, but this sort of a safety helps, and therefore we need a tenant story in our project where the location contact databases are many. There are different files. Maybe for the first customer we'll call it .db, for the second .db, for third .db. So for each customer in our customers table, we will have his own unique database to store the coordinates. The purpose of this database is to store the coordinates, and therefore we will have different database files of different names. Now the problem is that this database has a unique name called user.db. It can be hard-coded. This database also has a unique name customer.db, I think. This can also be hard-coded. But these names cannot be hard-coded because there are so many customers and there are so many name identifiers. So we cannot hard-code this story. Therefore, we need some sort of middleware that reads the incoming request and reads this identifier and makes a correct name in the location context database. Let me show you the DB context for this location context. You can see the code. There we have said use SQLite, databases folder, customers folder, journeys folder, and this is the name of the file. This name is actually the name identifier of the user. DB location context has a property called dbase file. This property is used to make a connection to the correct database just in time at runtime. So this is the reason why we need a middleware, because a middleware will help us substitute this name correctly, and then we will get access to the correct database of the user. And this is how the middleware is going to fit. This is use static files, use authentication, authorization. This means at this point we know the user ID, and therefore this middleware, this will set this property, and therefore the correct database will be configured. The correct file will receive its data. And after this we have map razor pages. Now this middleware will be used firstly by a user who logs in, so his authentication code will be available, or this will be also obtained through WebApi. The WebApi, when a mobile phone sends data, and in that case the mobile phone, it will send the name identifier, and on that basis of the posted form we will be able to set this middleware for Web API also. So the purpose of this tutorial is to understand this part, and let us now move to the project and have a look at the code. We have added this middleware in the models folder. Maybe this was not the correct place. I should have added another folder called middleware, but I have only one, so it works in our case. Location data middleware is a class that will do that work. So let us briefly have a look at this class. The structure of this class requires that the constructor, it receives a request delegate, we'll call it next, and this is cached here. This is what has been suggested by the MSDN documentation, so we have done the same story. We will have to have a invoke async function. This function, as you can see, it receives HTTP context, and the dependency injection, it provides us the link to location context object. This is for the Web API. When some post is done, name identifier is extracted from the route values, and the dbase file property is set, as you can see here. And in case for some enhanced security, this is something that you can have a look when you really run the project. And otherwise, when the Razor page is being loaded, in that case dbase file is set from the name identifier claim. And this is how this middleware is working, and where this middleware is fitted. It is fitted right between this authorization and the map Razor pages connections calls. So with this middleware in place,